Hello and welcome to It's a Frankly Hairy podcast. I'm your host, Frank Weber. I'm so glad that you could join me in the forest today. For those of you who are listening for the very first time, I want to give out a special welcome and tell you a little bit about what this show is about. I try to humorously discuss a variety of different things on this show. There's no really set format, but a lot of it is about observations of other humans and their behavior, and many a time I'm trying to discuss things that many other outlets and sources won't discuss. And overall, in general, I'm also trying to gently push us as humans and the human race into a more positive direction that I really feel like we're capable of, but somehow never attain. That's what this show is about, and I'm so glad that all of you are here to enjoy it with me today. And let's go ahead and get started because I have a lot to cover. So I'm recording this on MLK Day, January 20th, 2025. It's very cold outside, and like I said, it's also MLK Day. It's inauguration day. President Trump is going into office for the second time. And then tonight is the college football playoff final. I'm not going to talk much about the last one because I've already talked quite a bit about the playoffs in previous shows. But I'm still amazed that it's this late and they're having a championship game. Because a lot of the colleges have already started their spring semesters, and in the past, of course, everything would have been done by January 1st, and just odd to me how much money can lengthen the playoffs and stretch things out. And there seems to be a big distinction, I know, in college between fall sports and spring sports. And, well, let's be honest, football is a fall sport. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that today. I am coming to you, of course, I do this show from my house in Canyon, Texas, and it's bitterly, bitterly cold outside. Today, I think it got into the low 20s. And we've had some snow today as well, off and on, for the last 10 days or 2 weeks. But had some nice days in between there as well. We usually vacillate between extremes year-round, but can have some wild weather changes as well. Anyway, the thing I wanted to comment on is the National Weather Service issues a lot of crazy warnings nowadays, some of which we didn't have even a few years ago, I don't believe. Tonight they've issued an extreme cold warning, which I have never heard of until yesterday or the day before. It's only supposed to get down to about 5 degrees above zero. And of course, there's snow on the ground. I think it's supposed to clear off, which I guess is why it's going to be so cold. But the thing is, the Texas Panhandle, we're used to having really, really cold weather during the winter, having at least one really big cold snap. Hopefully this is the only one, but who knows. So we're used to this already. And it has been much colder before. I know since I've been here, it's probably gotten down to -10, -11 when we had that statewide winter storm warning a few years ago. It's not going to be anywhere close to that, and yet they've given us another warning, extreme cold warning. I don't know if that's because of safety culture that they're doing that now, but I mean, there's so many watches and warnings I've never heard of. I mean, it used to be so much simpler, and it could also be government trying to justify jobs, I think. But I also got another warning this afternoon because we had a fairly heavy snow shower or storm for a little while. It didn't last that long, but they gave me something called a snow squall warning or something like that, and it got heavy for a while, but seemed to be okay now. I don't know, just another observation. And something that maybe we really don't need. It's probably unnecessary. But you out there are probably not too interested in hearing all my stories about the weather. In a couple of days it'll be in the 40s and 50s, and we'll be all right again. So as I was saying before, a lot of things going on this January 20th. It's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday observed. I think the actual one is January 15th, but since this is the third Monday in January, this is the day that the U.S. government recognizes it. And I just wanted to point out there that I'm an admirer of the man, and especially the quote of don't judge people by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. We still need a lot of work on doing that in this society. I know in recent years, a lot of people, don't really want to name names, but I probably will, but a lot of people have been quick to point out a person's race instead of pointing out some other distinguishable characteristic about them, such as their character. One recent example, didn't really want to bring this up again, but last week I talked about Jimmy Carter's funeral, and President Biden gave a speech then. He described President Carter as a white Southern Baptist. Most of us know what Jimmy Carter looks like. He's a white guy who taught Sunday school, and I had thought at one time was a minister there. But nobody really goes out of their way to label their race as white or black or Hispanic or multiracial or anything like that. He's just Jimmy Carter. His big toothy smile that a lot of people pointed out and sometimes made fun of was more characteristic than his skin color. And anyway, such rhetoric needs to stop. That's one of the quickest ways to divide people, and I'm not a big fan of it. There's obviously some others who go out of their way to point out race, but if we can heed the words of Dr. King once again, so much more important to judge a person on the content of character than superficial characteristics. And I would also add, as a minister, Dr. King also knew that the human experience is tough for everybody, and nobody gets through life particularly easy. I mean, there's a lot of challenges and obstacles and things to overcome. We all have crosses to bear. So he knew this, and there's kind of a unity, if you will, humanity in our suffering in that regard. And it's pointless to divide people up by superficial characteristics. And so I recommend we move on and seek God out for power to find our priorities in life and what's really important. So anyway, the calendar this year, MLK Day also fell on January 20th, and this happens to be Inauguration Day for Donald Trump's second term, non-consecutive. So he's technically the 45th and 47th President of the United States. Of course, as some of you may know, Grover Cleveland, back in the 1890s, was president twice as well, the only other one. I don't know why we have to have two different numbers, though, because of all the presidents who have served two consecutive terms, they only have one number. But if it's non-consecutive terms, then they have two numbers. I'm not sure what the thinking is there. I know it doesn't really have much meaning, but perhaps you haven't thought about it before, so I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, yeah, I watched the inauguration ceremonies this morning. Very optimistic. I know that business will be better. I believe this country and the world will be safer. Quite possibly the economy will become better as well. Um, he listed also a number of ambitious policies. I know there's a lot of humor about buying Greenland and changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which I think has a really nice ring to it, actually. He did also mention the Panama Canal and regaining that for ourselves. Now, I'm a little fuzzy on the entire history of that, but we basically created a marvel of engineering in Panama so that ships, whether commercial or government or military or whatever, could pass through the Isthmus of Panama, going from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean or vice versa. Tremendous feat, a marvel of engineering, very strategic. The Love Boat crossed over it at least once or twice in that show. And then President Carter, who I just mentioned and passed away about 3 weeks ago now, gave it back to Panama. And Trump was saying that he wants to get it back for us, which I'm actually all for. Actually, when I studied this years ago in elementary school, I think it was in the 80s, I got that, I think I had talked about this on the show before, but I used to get these gut feelings that something is off or something is wrong, something negative. But as a kid, I didn't really have any idea why it was bad or negative. But, you know, if we put all this money and time and effort into creating something state-of-the-art and useful and strategic, why would we give it away? It just never made any sense to me. And in fact, I would actually love to, I haven't been down there, I would love to travel through the Panama Canal at some point. But lots of ambitious things. Some of them sound kind of humorous, but you never know. It sounds like it could be a really great thing going on. And like I said, I'm optimistic about the new administration, and that doesn't mean that I'm in the tank for Trump or agree with him on everything. But I think I think we could be in for a very productive, very what's the word? Positive 4 years for our country. And you know, we need leadership who is pro-America for sure. I had one other comment on the ceremony. There's a lot of different things that I could point out and from my observations and comment on. Carrie Underwood, who I'm a big fan of, saw her in concert a couple of times when she was fairly new. Always thought she was gorgeous, and she was gorgeous again today. Came out and sang "America the Beautiful" after the swearing in. I believe it was "America the Beautiful." I don't remember exactly if that was a song. I think that sounds right though. Anyway, she's gorgeous, and I just noticed she has. My wife and I, you know, we're both fans of her, and Carrie seems so glam now. And she was always pretty. She was always beautiful. I don't know. I just, you know, some women just don't need that much adornment. So I'm not. But she has. It's obvious she had the eyelash extensions, and she may be plumping her lips with Botox. And I'm just going to tell you, Carrie, honey, you don't need to do that. I don't understand the phenomenon of women plumping their lips like that. It kind of looks like they have an allergy, and they need Benadryl or maybe some epinephrine or something like that. But she belted it out. She did a great job on the song, and maybe someday I'll get to go see her in concert again. It was a lot of fun. You know, Carrie is married to a hockey player, as is Aaron Andrews, who's like one of my favorite sideline reporters. And can never understand what the deal was with hockey players and blondes there. I know Carrie could be called Carrie Fisher because her husband is named Fisher, but she's kept Underwood. So I think that's everything that I was going to say about the inauguration. I have a couple more things, not too much more. I have to pay tribute to, he just died this past Thursday, January 16th. Baseball Hall of Famer Bob Uecker passed away, and I'm very saddened to hear about that. Now, I, of course, wasn't alive for his baseball career, which he always downplayed and self-deprecated, which was the source of a lot of his comedy and why he got an audience on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson for over 100 times or something crazy like that. I just, and of course I wasn't old enough a lot of times to stay up late at night and watch him on Johnny Carson either, but he was just a naturally funny guy, never used a script, and just had the quickest, sharpest sense of humor. And he was never a stand-up comedian, although he could have done that. But he basically talked about, his lifetime batting average. It took him forever through the minors. He spent several years in the minors, and then he went on and played with, I think, the Milwaukee Braves and then the Cardinals for a little while. Had like something like a 200 batting average, hit a handful of home runs, but one of them was like, wasn't it like, he hit a grand slam one time off of Sandy Koufax. And I think there was one other memorable home run, I think. I don't know, he had like 14 or 15 home runs total in his entire major league career, and always made jokes about his play, and if they give him a bat, they would want him to stop the rally instead of continuing the rally, that sort of thing, and use that as jokes to get the attention of Johnny Carson, and then later an acting career and an announcing career with the Brewers. Also did a number of really funny commercials for Bud Light. Who can forget him on Mr. Belvedere, which is one of those 80s sitcoms that I don't see on TV anymore, sadly. Was on there for a few years, and of course played the baseball announcer Harry Doyle in Major League. In Major League 2, I can't remember, did they bring him back for the third one or not? I don't know if they did or not, but I always enjoyed his sense of humor. I mean, he was one of the funniest ever, and he's going to be sorely missed. I think he was about 90 years old, so he lived a long, fulfilling life, and seems like there's other things that I could say about him. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, yeah, you're not a great ball player, but you channeled that into some other means of fame, and it just seems like something that we could all kind of dream about and obtain. Kind of a, I guess you could say, a lucky life of sorts, but maybe not. I don't know. He's just naturally funny. He was always funny, and I wish I could be kind of like that, Although I think this show is pretty funny itself. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you think. He also, I think, he did win a World Series ring with the Cardinals one year, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like his career was like a total bust. But statistically, yeah, I guess it wasn't really that great. But he'll be sorely missed, and I think there was another guy who died that same day. Was it Lynch? David Lynch, a Hollywood director? I can't remember what his first name was. It was, now I'm not as familiar with him, but the name Lynch, Richard Lynch, he died a few years ago. Richard Lynch was a very stereotyped or typecast, I guess you could say, bad guy in a lot of movies. Like, I know he was a bad guy in at least one Chuck Norris movie and a lot of TV shows. He wasn't the guy who died recently, although he died a while back. But I don't know, for some reason I'm remembering Richard Lynch today. Richard, by the way, did play a good guy one time when he was in a movie with Priscilla Barnes in the late 70s. Was it Delta Fox, I think? I think that was the name of the movie. But anyway, well, I'm always mentioning people dying on this show. Maybe I need to kind of jazz it up and humor it up a little bit from here on. The only other thing that's going on right now before I wrap up the show, I started school last Wednesday at Texas Tech Online, doing the Certified Financial Planning and the MBA. Interesting stuff. I think the courses and the concepts are definitely workable, and I think it should work out okay. A little intimidated by the technology. Seems like schooling has changed a lot in the 25 years since I was there. But yeah, I'm enjoying everything so far, and should be a lot of fun, and probably be there at least 2 calendar years, and then my wife and I will probably move to Florida or something, so we don't have to deal with extreme cold and snow and stuff anymore. It is kind of getting to us. We've been in this house for almost 14 years now. 14 years, and so we'll probably be here 15, 16 at least. But anyway, I guess that's about all I have for you today. We're over 20 minutes. I know I went kind of late last week. So anyway, just like always, tell your friends and family, everybody you run into about It's a Frankly Hairy podcast. Hit subscribe. Leave a comment. Obviously communication and community is a really big goal of this show, and I want to keep it going. I'm always looking for ways to improve it. I think we have so many ways to improve upon it. But anyway, until next week, this is your host, Frank Weber, signing off from the forest on It's a Frankly Hairy podcast. We'll see you again. Looking forward to it. Bye.